For 5,000 years, the galaxy was quiet. The alien empires lived under a fragile peace. They remembered the last war, a war so brutal that stars themselves were broken. Whole planets were turned to ash, and countless species nearly vanished. The memory of that ancient terror forced every empire to stay silent. No one dared to fight again. No one dared to wake the fire, but peace is not forever. In the dark between two dying suns, something waited, something old, something dangerous. A ruin drifted in silence, an ancient station built by hands lost to time. It had slept for ages, forgotten by all, until the day a human scout ship passed too close. Its sensors touched the ruin, and the ruin woke. The humans did not know what they had found. They only laughed when their scanners glitched. They were explorers, dreamers, hungry for adventure. To them, the galaxy was not a prison of peace, but a playground of wonders. They sent messages. They made jokes. They claimed the ruin as if it were theirs. Their laughter echoed across the stars, carried on signals and radio waves. The ancient ruin answered, and the galaxy listened. Across the empires, alarms rang. Old records spoke of humans, the new species that had spread fast, too fast. They were strange. They were reckless. They laughed even in danger. The alien councils met in secret chambers. Leaders with scales, claws, and wings whispered of the past. The ruin signal was a warning. The last time it had spoken, a war had burned for centuries. Now it was awake again, and humanity was at its center. One council elder hissed that humans should be warned. Another slammed a fist on the table and demanded extermination. They feared the madness in human eyes. Because when other races feared death, humans laughed at it. The debate ended with a decision: war. The peace of 5,000 years was over. On Earth, the people looked up at the night sky. They saw news of alien fleets moving like storms through the void. Panic touched some hearts, fear spread in whispers. But the admirals, the soldiers, the explorers, they did not fear. They laughed, not because they were blind, but because they were ready. For years they had built in secret. On Mars, hidden under red dust, shipyards forged metal beasts. On Titan, under the shadow of Saturn, weapons were tested. Humanity had always known the peace would not last. And now at last the galaxy came knocking. Alien broadcasts filled the skies. Harsh voices declared humanity guilty. Guilty of touching forbidden ruins. Guilty of spreading too far. The punishment would be fire. The alien fleets promised to burn Earth, to silence humanity forever. But Earth answered with laughter. The recording shocked the alien empires. They could not understand why humans laughed when death marched toward them. But humans understood. They laughed because fear had no chains strong enough to bind them. In the dark of space, engines roared to life. Small warships, ugly and fast, rose from hidden bays, pilots strapped in with smiles. Soldiers painted teeth and jokes on their armor. The galaxy had forgotten war. But humanity had never forgotten the taste of struggle. They carried the memory of 1,000 battles, from swords to cannons to rockets, and now they carried it into the stars. The alien fleets moved closer. 10,000 ships like knives of fire, each one built to crush, to erase, to end. But the humans did not bow. They stood on the decks of their ships, staring into the void. And when the enemy broadcast came again, promising ash, promising silence, the humans answered with one voice. They laughed for the first time in 5,000 years. The galaxy heard the sound of madness, the sound of defiance, and in that laughter, the aliens felt something they had not felt in millennia. They felt fear. The ruin still waited between the two dying suns. Its signals whispered secrets, and as the alien fleets prepared for their attack, as humanity armed for its first great battle in the stars, the ruin whispered louder. The peace was broken, the war had begun, and through it all humanity laughed. Alien fleets crossed the void like rivers of fire. Their ships were vast, their weapons old and terrible. Every empire in the galaxy had sent its finest. 10,000 warships moved in silence. Their guns pointed at Earth in council halls across the stars. Alien leaders congratulated themselves. They believed the humans would kneel. They believed the strange, reckless species would break. But they did not understand humans, not yet on Earth. Panic whispered in streets and homes. Families feared the sky would fall, but in hidden places, deep under Mars, buried in Titan's frozen crust, secret forges glowed. Metal was shaped into monsters. Engines were carved with fire. For years humanity had been building, not to celebrate peace but to prepare for its end. Because humans never trusted silence, they knew peace was only the space between storms. The first fleet of humanity was nothing compared to the alien armadas. Their ships were smaller, rougher, their armor patched with scars. They had no elegant curves, no shimmering shields. Instead, they carried speed, fury, and cunning. Each ship was built like a blade, sharp and ready to cut. Their weapons were simple but brutal. Railguns that spat molten metal, missiles that carried warheads made for chaos, and secret cannons built from designs no alien mind had ever dared to dream. In the war rooms of Earth, the admirals studied the enemy charts. They saw fleets larger than any sea navy in history. Numbers beyond reason, but still they smiled. One admiral whispered, "They think we fear them." Another laughed, "Good, let them keep thinking it." Orders spread through the colonies. Every hidden shipyard released its children of steel. Every pilot prepared, every soldier sharpened their blade. The aliens watched from afar. They saw small human warships rising like insects, and they laughed in their own tongues. To them, these tiny vessels were no threat. "Crush them," one commander said. "Burn their world," said another. But behind the laughter was unease, because no matter how many humans they watched, they always saw the same thing, and smiles. Humans smiled as they faced death, and that smile spread fear deeper than any weapon. In the void near Luna, the first sparks of war began. Alien destroyers moved in formation. Their weapons glowed, charging with energy that could tear apart cities. The first shot was fired. A bolt of plasma cut through the darkness, screaming toward Earth's moon. But before it struck, a human ship moved. It was small, fast, reckless. The pilot turned its nose straight into the beam, and the ship vanished in fire. The aliens cheered. Certain the humans would run, but in the ruins of that sacrifice, hidden drones released their payload. Dozens of missiles streaked through the void. The alien destroyer lit up in flames, one ship gone, then two, then five. The alien commander froze. He had expected surrender. He had expected begging. Instead, the humans had turned the first strike into a trap. The commander shouted for more fire, but the humans were already gone. Their small ships vanished into the shadow of Earth's moon, and from there they laughed. The news reached the alien councils quickly. "The humans do not retreat," one elder whispered. "They fight as if death is a joke," another growled. The leaders tried to hide their fear, but it was too late. The galaxy had seen the first clash. The galaxy had seen humans bleed and laugh while bleeding. Back on Earth, the people cheered. Not because the war was won, but because they had seen hope. Their ships had survived the first fire. Their soldiers had struck back. And above all, their spirit had not broken. In hidden bars, soldiers raised glasses. On crowded streets, children painted ships on walls. The laughter of a whole planet echoed against the silence of space. The alien fleets prepared for a full assault. They would not underestimate again. They gathered in dark clouds across the system, their cannons ready to burn Earth to ash, but humanity was not idle. In shipyards under Mars, new vessels were rising. In hidden stations on Titan, weapons were loaded. And in the black of the asteroid belt, humans laid traps that no alien sensor could see. The war had only just begun, but already the galaxy understood one thing. Humans did not fight like others. They did not cry before the storm, they welcomed it. They met death with a smile, with a laugh. And in that laugh was something ancient, something terrifying. Something that the galaxy had forgotten, but would soon remember. When the alien fleets moved again, when their 10,000 ships crossed the void to crush Earth, the humans did not hide, they launched their own fleet. Small and outnumbered, and still they laughed. Because humanity did not see war as an end. They saw it as a challenge, a game played among stars. And as the first great clash of fleets began, as fire lit the black sky over Earth, the galaxy discovered a truth it had buried for 5,000 years. Peace was weak, war was alive, and in war, humanity was strongest. The battle for Earth's orbit began with silence. No trumpets, no warnings, only the cold, endless dark of space. Then light erupted. Weapons fire like burning stars streaked across the void. Alien ships moved in perfect formation, 10,000 strong. Their hulls glowed with energy shields, their cannons charged with power enough to crack moons. They expected an easy hunt, they expected fear. But what they met was madness. The human fleet was small, scattered, ugly in design. Their ships looked more like floating knives than war machines. No graceful arcs, no polished armor, only hard steel welded with purpose. Alien commanders sneered at the sight. This is their defense? They hissed. "They mock us with these toys," another growled. But the moment the first human ship broke formation, the aliens learned. These were not toys, these were predators. The first clash came near the shadow of the moon. Alien destroyers locked targets. Their beams carved through the dark. A smaller human frigate was hit. Its hull melted in seconds. But instead of retreat, it accelerated. It pushed forward into the enemy fire, shaking apart piece by piece. Then, just before breaking completely, it unleashed its railguns. Molten slugs ripped into the alien destroyer's shields. One slug pierced the heart of the ship. Both vessels vanished in the same blaze. The aliens gasped, horrified. Humans had thrown away a ship just to take one enemy down. To them it was madness, to humans it was a fair trade. And in the command decks of Earth's fleet, officers laughed. The alien commanders could not understand it. Why laugh at death? But laughter was humanity's sharpest weapon. It unnerved, it confused. It whispered one truth. We do not fear you. The next wave came fast. Aliens launched coordinated strikes. Hundreds of missiles streaked toward Earth's defenders, but the humans were ready. Hidden among asteroids were drone swarms, tiny machines, fast and merciless. The drones collided with the missiles mid-flight. Explosions rippled across the void. Human ships darted through the chaos. Weaving like hunters, railguns fired, missiles answered. Alien formations broke apart above Earth. The sky turned red as fire reflected off the atmosphere. Civilians watched in awe and terror. They saw flashes like suns being born and dying in seconds. They heard news feeds announcing victories and losses. Yet even in fear, even in sorrow, humanity stood tall because for the first time, they had struck the galaxy's oldest empires and survived. Aboard the alien flagship, Admiral Clythe roared in anger. His people had fought countless wars long ago. They had crushed rebels, burned civilizations, silenced entire systems, but never had they seen enemies who charged into fire with laughter. He ordered his fleet to close in. No more long-range bombardments. He wanted to break the humans face to face. The sky above Earth boiled with battle. Alien cruisers pressed forward, their massive cannons spitting storms. Human frigates danced between them. Some were destroyed instantly, but others slipped into blind spots. One frigate slammed into the side of a cruiser. Its crew sang in their last seconds, then detonated their core. The explosion tore the alien vessel apart. Another cruiser fell moments later. For every human ship destroyed, another alien ship burned still. The humans were outnumbered. For every victory, more enemies poured in. On the decks of Human Command, Admiral Vera narrowed her eyes. She knew they could not win this by brute strength. She gave the order, break the line. At her command, the human fleet split into three. One group dove into the planet's shadow. Another vanished into asteroid fields. The third charged directly at the flagship. The aliens thought the humans had panicked. They believed the formation was broken, but then the trap revealed itself. From the asteroid belt came hidden mines, hundreds. Each disguised as rock, they ignited at once. Tearing through alien formations from the planet's shadow came stealth ships, firing at engines and weak points, and from the front, the charging fleet did not slow. They flew faster, reckless, insane. The alien flagship unleashed its guns. Human ships died in fire, but still more came. Until one reached close enough to launch its final weapon. The dread silence of space was broken by a thunderous detonation. The alien flagship shook, its shields collapsed. Fire spread across its decks. Admiral Clythe screamed as alarms howled. Humans had struck at the heart of the enemy. The flagship burned and the alien fleet wavered on Earth. The people saw the flames in the sky. They cheered, they cried, they laughed. It was not the end, but it was proof. Humanity could fight the empires of the galaxy. They could bleed them, break them, and still stand. The peace of 5,000 years was gone. War had returned, but humanity welcomed it. Because in war they were alive, and as the alien fleets regrouped in the dark, as they whispered of the madness of their new enemy, the humans only laughed louder. For the battle of Earth's orbit was not the end. It was only the beginning. The galaxy trembled after the first battles. News of human defiance spread like wildfire, carried across stars by frightened messengers. In halls of power, alien leaders gathered, their voices sharp with fear and anger. They had expected humans to fall in silence. They had expected screams and surrender. But instead they were met with laughter. The sound echoed in their minds. The sound of a species that did not fear death. In the High Council of the Zorath Empire, The elders hissed among themselves. "They are reckless, they are insane," one said. "They throw away ships as if they are toys," another growled. "But each time they take one of ours with them," a third whispered, trembling. For the first time in 5,000 years, the galaxy's great powers felt hunted. The war councils across different empires grew tense, in shadowed chambers lit by cold light. Claws tapped, wings twitched, scales shifted. The leaders asked the same question again and again.
How do we fight an enemy that does not fear death?
No answer came. Some argued for overwhelming force. Others suggested retreat. But the strongest voices demanded a darker path, a path long forbidden. Hidden in ancient archives was knowledge of a weapon not spoken of since the last Great War. It was not a cannon, not a missile, not even a fleet. It was a star killer, a device that could pull the life from a sun. The weapon had been sealed away in fear, because it did not only kill armies. It killed worlds, it left systems empty, cold, silent forever. But now the whispers grew louder. "If we unleash it, humanity will fall," one counselor said. "If we do not, humanity will consume us all," another replied. And so the decision was made in darkness. The ancient weapon would rise again. Meanwhile, humanity celebrated small victories. On Earth, lights burned bright across cities. Songs filled the streets, laughter echoed in crowded bars. But in the command rooms of Mars and Titan, the admirals were silent. They knew the war had only begun. They had seen the numbers. They had counted the ships still waiting in alien strongholds. And yet, despite the danger, their eyes gleamed with fire. For every alien weapon, humans had an answer. For every empire threat, humans had a plan. In secret labs under Europa's ice, engineers worked without sleep. They forged new weapons, cannons that could pierce shields older than Earth itself, engines that burned brighter, faster, sharper, and among them, hidden even from the public, dreadnoughts were rising, massive ships, larger than anything humanity had ever built. Their frames stretched across kilometers, their cores humming with storms. They were not ready yet. But soon, very soon, they would wake while humanity prepared. The aliens tested their forbidden weapon. On the edge of the galaxy, far from living worlds, a small star shone weakly. Around it drifted empty planets, forgotten and cold. The weapon was brought there, a device of black steel carved with symbols none dared to read. It was aimed, and the command was given. The star trembled, its light flickered, then it screamed, collapsing in on itself. In moments it was gone. The system was nothing but dust. The alien commanders stared in silence, their own fear heavy on their hearts, but one spoke the truth aloud. "If humans hear of this, they will not fear us. They will only laugh louder," and yet they still planned to use it, for fear blinded them. Fear of a species that charged into fire. Fear of warriors who smiled at the edge of death. Back in the Sol system, rumors spread, whispers of a weapon so terrible it could erase the sun. Civilians trembled at the thought, but the soldiers, the admirals, the pilots, they did not tremble, they laughed. The sound carried through the ranks, because they knew what no alien could ever understand. The weapon might kill them, but it could not break them if the sun itself fell. Humanity would fight in the dark. The galaxy's spies reported back to their masters. "They laugh still," one agent said. "They laugh even as we prepare the Star Killer." The alien leaders hissed and roared. They called humanity insane, suicidal, cursed, but inside their hearts, a new feeling grew, a feeling older than peace, older than war, fear. The shadows of war stretched wider. Every empire armed itself. Every fleet was pulled from hiding. Systems that had known only quiet for 5,000 years now shook with the roar of engines. The galaxy was preparing for a storm greater than any in its history. And at its center was humanity. Small, fragile, reckless humanity. The ones who had awakened the old ruin. The ones who laughed at death. The ones who would not kneel. The first tests of the Star Killer were hidden, but its shadow already touched humanity. Whispers reached Earth's admirals. They looked to the sky, to the burning sun. They knew the aliens would not stop at fleets. The war would grow darker, deadlier, and still they smiled. Because humans had always lived at the edge of destruction. From fire, from flood, from famine, and every time they had survived, every time they had laughed. As the alien councils planned their secret strike, as the Star Killer was moved closer, humanity's laughter grew louder, not because they were blind, but because they were ready. They welcomed the storm. They dared the galaxy to come, and in the ruins of 2 dying suns, the ancient station pulsed again, its signals growing stronger, sharper, darker. It remembered the last war. It hungered for the next. The peace was dead. The galaxy was burning and humanity laughed in the fire. The galaxy shivered when the news spread. A star was gone, not dimmed, not broken, but erased one moment it burned, the next it was silence. Worlds that had circled it for billions of years spun in the dark. Frozen and dead, the forbidden weapon had awakened. The Starkiller was real. Across the empires, fear tightened its grip. Leaders whispered in hidden chambers, their voices cracking with dread. They had unleashed a weapon that even they did not trust. And yet they told themselves it was the only way to end the humans. The only way to silence the laughter that haunted their every council on Earth. The first broadcasts arrived. Images of a sun collapsing, a system vanishing into dust. Civilians fell silent, some cried, some prayed. For a heartbeat, the fear was real. The idea that humanity could be erased with one strike. But when the Council of Admirals gathered, when the soldiers and pilots heard the news, they did not cry, they laughed. The alien spies were confused. They sent reports back to their masters. The humans laugh even at this. They laugh at the death of stars. The alien leaders slammed fists. Hissed and cursed, to them it was madness. But to humans it was defiance, because the moment fear tries to choke them, they answer with laughter. Not empty joy, but the sound of a spirit that refuses to break. Admiral Vera stood at the command table. Her voice cut sharp through the room. They think they can kill the sun, she said. They think they can break our will with shadows. She leaned forward. Eyes burning, then let them come, and when they arrive, we will answer. The answer was already being built. In the hidden shipyards under the Martian crust. In the black depths of Titan's frozen seas. In the hollowed-out asteroids drifting between worlds. There, in silence and secrecy, the dreadnoughts had risen. Ships so large they seemed like moving cities. Each one carried enough firepower to challenge a fleet. Their armor was thicker than mountains. Their cores roared with storms caged inside. They were humanity's true answer, and now, with the shadow of the Starkiller looming, the dreadnoughts were almost ready. The first time one awoke. The sound shook the hidden shipyard. Engines roared like gods in chains. Cannons glowed with power. Workers cried out in awe. And in the command decks, officers smiled. Because they knew the galaxy had not seen warships like these for thousands of years. And now they belonged to humans, but humanity's strength was not only in steel. It was in their minds, it was in the way they turned fear into fuel. In the way they turned despair into laughter, and so, when alien fleets sent threats across the void, promising the sun would fall, the humans broadcast their reply. Their admirals stood in front of cameras, soldiers beside them, they laughed. Not a polite laugh, not a nervous laugh, but a roar of defiance. It was broadcast across every channel, every frequency. Aliens who watched felt their blood turn cold. Because the humans did not look like prey, they looked like predators. Admiral Clythe of the Alien Coalition pounded his claws into the command table. They mock us, he snarled. They dare mock the galaxy's greatest weapon. But in his heart, he remembered the sight of his flagship burning. He remembered human ships diving into fire without hesitation. And he felt the first sting of doubt. Meanwhile, Earth prepared, the dreadnoughts were hidden, waiting for the moment of truth. The smaller fleets practiced strike and vanish maneuvers. Drones swarmed through asteroid belts, laying traps every colony, every soldier. Every pilot knew what was coming. The galaxy would bring its full strength. The Starkiller would follow, and yet humanity smiled. Because they would not bow, they would not hide. If the sun itself was taken from them, they would fight in the dark. On the day the alien fleets moved again, the stars burned with their engines, their numbers filled the void. Their arrogance filled the channels with threats. They sent one last warning, kneel, or your star dies. And Earth answered with a single word, laughter. The sound carried across space. Every alien commander who heard it felt their skin crawl. Every soldier felt doubt creep into their hearts, because laughter is the enemy of fear. And fear was all they had to control on Mars. The first dreadnought left its cradle. Its hull gleamed black against the red sky. Its cannons turned toward the heavens. Its engines burned with power enough to shake the ground. The people on the surface watched in awe as the giant rose into the sky. They whispered its name with pride. It was not just a ship, it was a promise. The promise that even if stars fell, even if the galaxy tried to erase them, Humanity would not die quietly, they would roar, they would burn. They would laugh until the very end. And in that laughter was a truth the galaxy had forgotten. Peace had been weakness, war was survival, and in war, humanity would always rise as the alien fleets drew closer. As the shadow of the Star Killer stretched across Sol, humanity's answer was ready. The dreadnoughts would rise, the fleets would fight, and the laughter of a single species would echo across the stars, challenging the galaxy itself. They rose from the shadows like giants long asleep. Dreadnoughts, the hidden titans of humanity. For years they had been whispered of in secret. Their names spoken only in war rooms and underground shipyards. Now they drifted into the black void of space, their hulls vast as mountains, their cannons glowing with caged fire. Each one was a city of steel. Each one carried enough fire to tear fleets apart, and together, they formed the backbone of humanity's defiance. The alien fleets halted when they saw them, even across the void. The sheer size of the dreadnoughts shook them. They had expected insects, small ships darting and dying like before. They had not expected monsters on alien bridges. Commanders whispered in disbelief. How did they build these? How did they build them so fast? No answer came, because no one had believed humans were capable of such creation. Yet here they were, laughing even as their titans lit the skies. The first dreadnought to fire was named Iron Rain. Its main cannon glowed with a light brighter than the stars. When it unleashed its shot, the void itself seemed to shatter. An alien battleship, proud and ancient, crumbled in one strike. The shock rippled through the alien fleet. This was not madness, this was power, and suddenly, the humans did not look small anymore. They looked like gods rising from the dirt. Admiral Vera stood on the bridge of Iron Rain. Her eyes cold, her voice steady. Target the command ships, she ordered. The dreadnoughts obeyed. Each unleashed storms of destruction. Alien cruisers broke apart. Destroyers scattered. Fleets that had marched confidently now twisted in panic. The humans did not just fight, they dominated. But the aliens were not weak. They rallied quickly, their fleets swarming like hornets. Waves of plasma fire smashed against the dreadnoughts. Shields flickered, hulls groaned. Smaller human ships darted around the giants, protecting them, intercepting missiles. Everywhere the battle raged, fire lit the dark. The Sol system burned with war. Still, the dreadnoughts pushed forward. One alien flagship dared to challenge Iron Rain. It launched all weapons at once, a storm of destruction. But humanity's Titan did not retreat, it pressed closer, closer. Until its cannons unleashed a final barrage, the alien flagship split apart in fire. Its admiral screaming into silence on distant worlds. Alien citizens watched the broadcasts. They had been told humans were weak. They had been told humanity was foolish, reckless, doomed. But now they saw the truth. They saw giants of war rising from Earth's forges. They saw human admirals laughing as they crushed fleets that had once been feared, and fear spread, not fear of humans dying, but fear of humans winning, the galaxy began to whisper. Maybe the humans could not be stopped. Maybe the madness was not madness, but strength. In the councils of the alien empires, panic spread like a plague. They demanded answers. How many dreadnoughts do they have? Where are their shipyards? Why did no spy find them before? But no one knew because humanity had hidden their titans in silence, and now they unleashed them in fury. Still, the war was not won, for every alien ship destroyed. More still came, the galaxy was vast. Its empires endless, and above them all, the shadow of the Star Killer loomed. It had not yet been unleashed on Sol, but all knew the day would come. The aliens believed the dreadnoughts could be erased in one strike. The humans believed otherwise. They had their own secret waiting, deeper than even the titans of steel. On the bridge of Iron Rain, Admiral Vera smiled. Her officers laughed as reports came in. Another fleet broken, another flagship burned. But behind their smiles was steel. They knew this was only the beginning. The galaxy had shown its weapon. Now humanity had shown theirs. The war had grown darker, larger, deadlier. In the black of space, the dreadnoughts stood like monuments of defiance. Their shadows stretched across moons. Their cannons glowed with fury. They were not only machines, they were symbols. Symbols of a species that refused to kneel. Symbols of laughter in the face of death. And as the alien fleets retreated, as the survivors limped into the void, humanity's laughter echoed again. Louder than before, carried across the stars. It was not the laughter of fools. It was the laughter of warriors who had built titans in silence, and now dared the galaxy to come and break them. The dreadnoughts had risen, the galaxy had seen them, and nothing would ever be the same. Humanity's fleets marched through the stars with fire at their backs. The dreadnoughts had shattered alien pride. Worlds that once called humans reckless now whispered their names in awe. And on alien homeworlds, rulers trembled in their palaces. For the first time in 5,000 years, the great empires felt weak for the first time they feared. But victory was not without shadows, because even as humanity advanced, even as their titans of war pushed into enemy territory, something darker grew in silence. Not all humans were loyal. Not all humans laughed at death. Some saw opportunity. Some saw profit and some saw fear. In the hidden corridors of Earth's defense grid, hands moved in secret, codes were stolen, gates unlocked. A traitor moved among them, feeding whispers to alien ears. The price was not money, not power, but survival. A promise whispered by the galaxy's rulers: betray your kind, and you will live when your world burns, the traitor believed. And so the seed of betrayal was planted. Human admirals did not see it yet. Their eyes were on the war ahead. The fleets had split, marching toward alien homeworlds, each battle larger than the last, each victory heavier with cost. Still the humans laughed. Still they pressed forward, because war was not something they endured, it was something they embraced. On the alien councils, desperation grew. The dreadnoughts had broken too many fleets. The smaller ships had bled them dry. And so they turned once more to their greatest weapon. The Star Killer, it had erased a sun before, and now it would strike its soul itself. The weapon was moved through the void, hidden by shadows, its aim fixed on Earth's heart, but to fire it, they needed the defense grid weakened, and the traitor's hands opened the way. Far above Earth, the defense satellites spun. They were humanity's shield, a wall of fire no fleet could breach. But one by one they flickered. Errors spread like infection. Codes shifted, orders changed, and no one noticed, not until it was too late. Admiral Vera stood aboard Iron Rain. Her eyes locked on the maps of the void. Something was wrong. The patterns in Earth's defenses were changing. The satellites were moving in ways they should not. And then the reports came. Unauthorized access, Admiral. Someone is inside the system. Her voice turned sharp. Seal the grid, lock everything down. But the command came too late. From the edge of the system, the weapon revealed itself. A shadow larger than moons, its body covered in scars of ancient wars. The Star Killer opened like the jaws of a beast. Energy gathered, a storm brighter than suns. It aimed not at the fleets, not at the dreadnoughts, but at Earth. At the heart of humanity, civilians looked up at the night sky. They did not see the weapon itself, but they saw the light. A star burning too close, too fierce, the ground shook as alarms screamed across cities. Children cried, families clutched each other. And still somewhere, laughter broke the silence. Because even in the face of destruction, humanity refused to bow. Admiral Vera's voice rang through the fleets. The Star Killer is here and it aims for Earth. Her officers froze. But she did not. Then we will fight it, she said. Even if it takes the sun itself. We will fight in the dark. The dreadnoughts turned, their cannons charging. The smaller fleets swarmed, preparing to strike. But deep in the defense grid, the traitor smiled. The weapon would fire. The betrayal was complete. The galaxy watched in silence. Every empire held its breath. Every ruler prayed the humans would finally break. And then the Star Killer fired. The void screamed with light. A beam carved through the black. Stretching across worlds, it lit the system in fire. Brighter than the sun itself, it raced toward Earth. Unstoppable, unchallenged. The defense grid failed, its guardians blind. The traitor's work complete, on Earth the sky turned red. The oceans reflected burning light. For a heartbeat it seemed the end had come. The planet itself trembled, people screamed, but in the chaos, voices rose in laughter, defiant, fearless. Because even as the weapon fired, humanity was not silent. They laughed louder, louder than fear, louder than death. In the fleets, the admirals did not cry. They did not beg. They gave one order only: strike back. The dreadnoughts fired, their cannons roaring like gods. The smaller ships darted into the jaws of the enemy, and even as Earth's sky burned, humanity's laughter carried across the stars. The betrayal was revealed, the Star Killer unleashed. The galaxy watched in horror, but the humans only smiled because even in betrayal, even in fire, the war was not over. The war had only just begun. The sky above Earth burned like a dying sun. The Star Killer's beam cut through the void, carving across the system. It struck the defense grid, tearing apart satellites, splitting ships into pieces of flame. The oceans boiled, the air shimmered red. For a heartbeat, the world seemed lost. For a heartbeat, the galaxy believed humanity had fallen. But humanity did not scream, they did not kneel, they laughed. The sound rose from bunkers, from ships, from every soul staring into the fire. Because even when the light of death covered their sky, their spirit would not break. It never had, it never would. On the bridge of Iron Rain, Admiral Vera's face glowed in the crimson storm. Her crew stared at her, waiting for despair, waiting for fear, but she smiled, sharp and unshaken. "They think this is the end," she said. "Then let us show them what an ending looks like." The dreadnoughts turned their guns on the Star Killer. The Titans of Steel roared with fury. Their cannons lit the void, ripping into the colossal weapon's shields. The alien fleet surged to defend it. Thousands of ships poured fire across the black. Human frigates and fighters dove into the chaos. Some were destroyed instantly, but others struck true. Every explosion shook the enemy. Every laugh from a dying pilot echoed in comms. The galaxy had never seen warriors like this. Warriors who mocked death even as they touched it. The traitor was revealed in the defense grid. Dragged from the shadows, their betrayal burned into every screen. Humanity saw the one who had opened the gates. They cursed their name, spat at their cowardice. But even betrayal could not break them. If one voice had sold them out, billions more roared in defiance. The galaxy learned in that moment, you cannot buy humanity's silence. Not with fear, not with death. The Star Killer's beam faded, its power cooling after the massive strike, but it prepared to fire again. If it struck once more, Sol itself might fall. Admiral Vera leaned forward, her voice cold and fierce. "Now we end this," she said. The dreadnoughts surged, their cannons glowing brighter than before. And in that moment, the humans revealed their final secret. Deep within Sol, hidden for decades, humanity had built something greater than ships. A weapon woven into the heart of their own star. An experimental device meant to harness solar storms. It had been dismissed as madness even by their own scientists. But humanity thrived on madness, and now with the galaxy watching, they unleashed it. The sun screamed. Flares of fire erupted. Rivers of plasma surged outward. The device bent the storm, shaped it, hurled it into space. A wave of solar fury, controlled and sharpened. It tore into the Star Killer, shields shattered, armor melted. The ancient weapon that had erased a star now trembled before the rage of another. The alien admirals cried out in horror. "No! Impossible!" They screamed, but nothing could stop it. The sun's fury swallowed their weapon. The Star Killer broke apart, its body splitting into molten fragments. Its final cry echoed through the void, and then it was gone. The galaxy froze. For 5,000 years they had feared war. For 5,000 years they had worshipped peace. But now they saw the truth. Peace had ended. War was reborn, and in war, humanity laughed. The alien fleet scattered, some tried to fight, others fled. The dreadnoughts hunted them. One by one, enemy ships burned, the void filled with fire. The survivors limped back to their empires, carrying only fear. Fear of humans. Fear of their laughter. On Earth, the fires cooled. The oceans steamed, the skies cleared. Billions stood beneath the stars. They had seen death itself, and they had laughed. They had faced annihilation, and they had survived. Their cities sang. Their soldiers raised their fists. Their children shouted into the night sky, "Come again."
Try again.
Because humanity was not afraid. In the alien councils, silence reigned. Leaders who had once ruled with iron claws now whispered like frightened prey. They had thrown fleets. They had unleashed forbidden weapons. And still humanity laughed. Still humanity fought. The galaxy realized a terrifying truth. If war had returned, it would not end with humanity's death. It would end with humanity's rule. On the bridge of Iron Rain, Admiral Vera stood tall, her eyes on the distant stars. She knew the war was not over. The empires would strike again. The galaxy would not surrender so easily. But she also knew this. The humans had won more than a battle. They had won fear, they had won respect, and above all, they had won freedom. Her crew laughed beside her, wounded, weary, but unbroken. "Let them come," she whispered. "Let them all come," and across the stars, the laughter spread. It became the sound of war. It became the sound of hope. It became the sound of humanity's rise. The 5,000-year peace was shattered. The galaxy burned with fire once more, and at the heart of the storm, humanity laughed not the laugh of fools, but the laugh of warriors who had faced death and found it weak. The laugh of conquerors, the laugh of a species that could never be broken. The war was not over, it had only just begun,